Hi, good morning. Thanks so much for joining me here in my shop for another day on this radio. Today is April 14th. So the situation with this radio, it just keeps getting a little better every time I work on it. And yesterday I went through the FM alignment process and the result was very good in terms of getting more volume out of the radio and making it more sensitive to stations, picking up lots of stations. But one thing that still remains is the sound is a little bit distorted. And it's kind of subtle. It'll definitely be heard. It's a little bit subtle. So there's a couple possible reasons for this, very likely reasons for this. One is I've been experimenting with the tube up here. This is not the tube that the radio calls for. It's looking for an ECC 85 here, which is the same thing as a 6AQ8, but instead I have a 6, or it could be 12. Could be 12 actually. 12 BZ7 in there. It's a very similar tube. Apparently has less gain when new. If you compare the two tubes, the ECC 85 and this tube. Could that cause distortion? I would think it would just cause low output, but there could be other differences in this tube that are causing the distortion. Now I have only one good ECC 85. It's not even great, it's just good. This tube, as far as a 6 or 12 BH7, is very good. What I did on my tube tester is I set it up to test the ECC 85, and then I tested a whole bunch of those tubes. These are all 6 or 12. I better just clear that up. For some reason my brain's not working so well this morning. 6 BQ 7, 6B Z7s, very similar tubes. Tested them with the same test settings as an ECC 85 to see how they would work as an ECC 85, at least in my tube tester. This one tests stronger under that test than the ECC 85. I'm going to bring that other tube in here and we're going to try the radio out, see what happens when I put a proper tube in, and if that eliminates the distortion, which I don't expect it will. The second thing that happened is there's a alignment stage, or an alignment step, where I should make an adjustment. It's in this can here, and as I do it, my indicating meter over here should be swinging both positive and negative, and the idea is you make the adjustment until it's right on 0. And when I performed this test, my meter stayed above 0 the whole time, this meter over here. So something was wrong with that test, and that is a very critical point in stopping the kind of distortion that we were hearing. So I suspect either I did the setup wrong, the voltmeter connected wrong somehow, or there's something more wrong at this stage in the radio that needs to be hunted down. Another possibility is, this varies from alignment instruction to alignment instruction. There is a capacitor here. I think this sometimes is called the stabilizing capacitor. It's sitting right here in this radio. This is right across the detector output, I guess you could put it that way. And in some cases when you're doing these alignment steps, you need to disconnect this capacitor. I haven't done that. Now let's start right there. I can't remember if the instructions here mention that or not. So we'll take a look quickly. I don't think they suggest you disconnect it. I'm going to have to study this a little closer, just to be sure. Sometimes notes like that are hidden away on these sheets. So that's the two areas I want to investigate. So we're going to start with the vacuum tube and see if that clears up the distortion. We're going to start with just the way it is, to hear the distortion, make sure we know that's real. These radios are tricky to tune on FM. They have to be tuned very exactly, and we've all become lazy with our more modern FM radios that have an automatic frequency control circuit in them, so they kind of lock on the station when you tune it in. It kind of grabs it and tunes it in great. These things are like tuning a knife edge. You have to get it right on to avoid distortion, especially if the signal's a little weak. Well, that brings up one more thing. There is another possibility here, and that is that it's simply the result of weak signals on the antenna, because I'm using inappropriate antennas. The correct antenna is fastened inside the cabinet, so I have to kind of put this back in the cabinet to hook up the real antenna, which at some point obviously I will get to. But as for that causing distortion, it's not quite so likely. It seemed to me this was receiving pretty strongly. Picked up lots of stations, so I think that proves it's receiving fairly strongly. And we could try different tubes up here other than the ECC 85, just see what happens. If in fact these radios can be made to work with this alternate tube, there are a lot of these around. The correct tube 6AQ8 and that are a little harder to find. Okay, that's the plan. I'm going to get that tube. We're going to start up here. Okay, we'll start with the CBC because they're talking and I don't have to worry about copyright hits.
Liz and Carly called me, told me what the show was, and asked if I would be in an episode, and before they sent me the yes. I'll read it. But yeah, when do we start? I adore them. I would do anything with them. I have working with Liz and Carly. They are incredibly collaborative. I think that they...
So I would say the higher tones sound kind of fuzzy to me. That's the way I would describe this. The higher pitch sounds, especially in the S's.
About the female experience, but in ways that are entertaining for all genders. And
sound a little more like an F than they sound like an S. Okay, we'll put on some music. It'll be a little more apparent, just briefly here. Too weak. Another weak station. I'm looking for stations that are strong enough on here, based on the antenna I'm using, to quiet the radio down so you don't hear any hiss.
You have to earn it. It's my wife's birthday next week. So we're leaving jewelry catalogs all over the house, like everyone. Like, what is going on here? Yeah. So I got the message and I got her.
You can hear the cymbals in the background again. Instead of sounding like cymbals, they sound like thimbles.
All right. Before I came to work in life, I applied for a job hanging mirrors. Oh, really? Yes. It's something I can really see myself doing.
That was a good joke. It's almost at the point where it's tolerable. A casual listen to this radio, you wouldn't really notice the distortion that much. But it's certainly there. So we'll try changing this tube now. Is it too hot to touch? Probably. The other thing about this tube is it's glowing away like a son of a gun. And the other BZ7s, it didn't glow this way. This particular one glows strongly in my tube tester. And let's tune in a station here. I'll go back down to the CBC.
Car about half a mile away, registered to A. From Ross. That's me.
Wow, that's her.
Can we take a minute to acknowledge the real tragedy here? I was clearly in my prime.
You think dating a dead girl's funny?
No. It's just
blowout and contours their face before a trip to the DMV.
Wow. Lived with your license for a long time, Carol.
I'm interested in the acting part of this because
So that was the substitute tube. This is a real appropriate one. And I know this tube works because in another radio, it works fine. Another radio virtually identical to this one. Gee, I have expected that to cause the radio to retune.
Has a healthy dose of comedy,
Yeah.
so I could feel where the comedic moments were. But there's also so much truth. The episode examining some heavy themes about violence against women.
I hear the
and,
same distortion.
and stuff like that. So I was sort of trying to figure out where that balance was going to come, and then also, yes, just logistically, it was a question of, am I just
So there are capacitances inside the tube. There's capacitances between everything. Tiny perhaps, but still there. But these tubes have inter-element capacitances, and I wonder if changing from this tube to the other one here, which is cooled off a fair bit, is why the radio appears to have retuned. And that would suggest to me that you need to redo the alignment. I'm going to put this first tube back in. Okay, we're going to tune the radio, then we're going to switch to another one of those.
on board, and we ended up doing it that way, and it was wild. It was very like life imitating art, because a big part of the story, right, is that this character is not heard.
So close.
Nobody sees her, nobody hears her, and she's really trying to.
Sounds really pretty good.
And find her
Just a
voice.
wee bit.
And that was my challenge.
Okay, let me
as-
grab
as
another
the
tube
actor
here.
In the scene, really trying to get my words in and be heard over these guys and their dialogue.
and your character's also dealing with something really interesting in that
6BQ7, this
she's
one.
hearing people talk about her throughout the episode as people.
A 6BQ and a 6BZ are the same tube, basically. Oh my gosh! Did that get on camera? This thing just flashed like a light bulb when I first put it in. Seems to be tuned in the same spot, but the volume is down.
Is obviously divorced from who people say you are in this business, you know?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know how much I consciously thought about that during the episode, but it's a fair point.
Tuned slightly off.
I tend to overthink these things, but it did occur to me, you know?
No, it's great. To me it was really, I probably connected more with the character's narcissism and her need for attention, which is not something that I currently struggle with, but I could relate to it. I liked that this murder victim was not a perfect person, nor was she a victim that's hiding a lot of dark secrets, which are both sort of tropes that we've seen in the detective.
That sounded pretty good. This one says on it 6BQ7, 6BZ7.
Except accept more blame for her own murder because she's a woman who cared about her appearance or enjoyed attention from men. So that I really liked digging into.
You could relate to that?
Yeah, you know, I'm narcissistic. I'm an actress. Are you kidding? I'm like, look at me, look at me.
Sounds excellent.
You know, so much of our career is about. I mean, you know, the job is to be looked at. So there's a fair amount of
Hard to
thought.
complain about that sound. That sounded really clear. Let's get some music here. This spot right here is because of this signal generator. Waiting in the wings. Help us out a little bit with this. So on this, the bass sounds very distorted to me. I'm tuned up in this area here somewhere. I can hardly see the pointer. I cannot see the pointer. It's right there. Cannot get rid of it. The distortion.
To do is point.
You is point.
Jump from a party or celebration or holiday.
Jump from moving in or from moving out of a new place.
We make junk disappear.
All you have to do is point.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Or visit 1-800-JUNK.com. Aurelia VW is open for business. The health and safety of our clients and employees is very important to us. So we're making ourselves available to you in some familiar ways and some new ways. We're making it easy to bring a Volkswagen home from home. Visit AureliaVW.ca and check out our new virtual and customize your payment all from the
Catch what happened there? I tried to pull that tube out and I essentially shook the radio when I was doing it, and the radio tuned off. Now I know that one of these slugs, just touching it with the alignment tool, causes things to change. So perhaps that's part of the instability here, is these slugs are wandering around in here under vibration. So I could tune this whole thing up here, throw it in a car, drive it 100 kilometers, take it out, and it's no longer tuned up. That's a bit of a concern for me. Okay, so I wanted to put the ECC 85 back in on tuned up at this end of the band. Now I wouldn't imagine the radio would be sounding fine down here but being distorted up there. I have a little trouble with that. So once again, it's come on, no longer tuned to the station. Sounds very, very clear to me. There's my signal generator again.
To help you escape from every day with the getaway you deserve. Now is the time to get on the chance to win one of 4 incredible fresh escape packages in Simcoe, Muskoka, including Lake Social and Kitchen in Barrie and Raleigh Resort in Port Severn. Private executive suite golf and dinner, relaxing spa treatments, and an overnight stay. Plus, there's always an extra $200. It's the Fresh Escape Contest happening now. Just follow us on social media and listen for your chance to win. Details online.
Definitely distorted there. So that was the correct tube, or the tube that the radio calls for. These are the substitutes. This is the very first one to start out with. When the radios are retuned again.
today at the GC Corner in Stainer. thegccorner.com.
Support your community. Love local with Fresh 93.1. A few things are impossible.
I know something that's impossible.
Okay, tell it.
Having a big event and not create.
Definitely hear the distortion there. Round and around and around we go. Week 2.
Be a part of your special day. Beautiful, innovative designs brought to life in our studio bakery. We even deliver. Book your complimentary cake tasting and check out our
More
web
distorted.
specials at Cakes by
Week or 2 more distorted. And then the last one to play around with here.
over $174,000. Host a family reunion with a backyard makeover. Or win one of 2 luxury vehicles. Don't wait. The earlier you buy, the more chances you have to win. Let's beat heart disease and stroke and help save a life. Buy partnership.ca. Lottery license RAF 1232877.
Quality. It's are about a lot of different things, but they are about women taking control of how they're seen. They're about women taking back the lens to both off screen and on. Has working on these 2 shows with that in mind?
Okay, I think that's enough tube swapping. So I'm hearing differences between the different tubes. One seemed to work quite well. Could it just be I'm just tuning it extra good with that particular tube in? But they all seem to indicate or suggest to me there's some distortion and a little bit of weakness, in the sense that, you know, with most FM radios there's a range of tuning you can achieve, and again, it's usually because of automatic frequency control, I would imagine. Now this one, wow, it just seems like you just can't climb the hill high enough to get a clear signal, and that if the signal were just strong enough it would be clear too. Don't know about that. Just making observations here. So the next thing I want to do is toy around with the alignment issue, try to get this alignment step to work properly. And then there's another whole approach to alignment that I could take too, using a sweep generator. And I think I'm going to want to look at that a little bit with the radio too. Okay, that's good for now. Okay, just thinking about this a little more. Maybe the next thing to do is to listen to the signal generator through the radio. This is a radio that's causing distortion, so I should be hearing it somehow with the signal generator. So I can kind of train my ear for it, or the like.
Yeah.
Okay, signal generator's at 100. See the pointer. Holy smokes. It's right here. Now the signal generator is not connected directly, it's just being picked up by the antenna. It has enough output for that. Let me just move the Ooh. Look at that. Sounds like a noisy tube. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to feed in some different signals from the signal generator, different frequencies. We're just going to listen to it and see what it sounds like. Now, why aren't we hearing it right now? Good question. So I think we should be hearing a 1,000 hertz tone coming out of this radio right now. There's nothing coming out. Oh. Okay. Switch was a little sticky there. Okay, to my ear, that sounds really quite fine. Well, can't say I could hear anything that I would qualify as distortion, listening to a single tone like that. Let's go back to the station. The volume barely up for the signal generator. It's quite strong. Maybe that's part of the problem there.
Family classroom. But you get together for potlucks.
School kids, right?
Yeah.
I remember hearing the rumors of that. We would have school dances, and then I remember hearing that one of our homeschool kids taking place somewhere. Let's talk a little bit more about the show. So in this scene, we're in Greta's front yard, where Greta's little brother Gunther is giving an outdoor concert on the Esraj. Some high school boys come by, they start making fun of him, and the two characters, Farzana and Greta, leap to his defense. Take a listen to this.
I know Gunther's a big hit with boys whose balls have been...
Oh! Really? I thought he was even bigger hit with Greta Thunberg and Malala Yousafzai.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that supposed to be an insult? Oh, yeah, God forbid. A Nobel Prize winner or an environmental luminary.
I thought this scene was a big turning point of the show, and it's only like 8 minutes into the first episode. Can you tell me a little bit about this scene?
It's the first time that our homeschool gals have an interaction with people who aren't homeschooled, kids their own age.
Which you call?
Trads.
Trads.
That sounds really good. whatever tube I've got in there. And what tube do I have in there right now? Right now I have one of the 6 BQZ tubes in there. Well, yeah, I'm chasing smoke here. Let me try and repeat. Now what I'll do now is I'll try to repeat that alignment step that didn't seem to work properly. And maybe I can sort out what I was doing wrong with that. Okay, so as I expected, I have the indicating meter connected completely wrong in the radio for the test I was doing. So I've corrected that. At least I think I've corrected that. Now we want this to be kind of a center 0 meter. So we're going to put it on 50 volts, and we're going to 0 the meter straight up, like that. And we're going to be using a 10.7 signal fed into the FM tube using the sleeve technique. Okay, there it is. And we're going to make sure we're tuned away from the other signal generator. Where is the pointer? There it is here. So we're down at CBC 91.5. Okay, let's let her rip here. For some reason my dim bulbs didn't come on at all. Oh, I think I know why. Here we go again. Good. Now earlier on I'd installed 200,000 ohm resistors in series to provide a test point where the two resistors connect. That test point becomes the ground point for the meter over here, which you can see is already off to the side. Well, what the heck is that? I don't know what that thumping is. No thumping there. Okay, now we should be hearing the signal generator, should we not? I've got it connected, I've got it on the tube. Well, we may not hear it, but we should hear quieting from it. The hiss should disappear. What's happening with that? Well, okay, something something new has arisen. There. Why are you doing that? Well, that's the right frequency. This is off by just a little bit. Let me do a couple things here. I want to check the center 0 point. Yep, still centering in 0. Oh! All that nonsense went away when I disconnected this. So perhaps having the clip leads come out the back of the radio here in the vicinity of all this other stuff, especially this guy. Let's just turn him right off. Maybe there was something going on there that is causing that thumping. So this is off. Let me vary the signal generator, the frequency, and watch that meter. See what it does. Reading. Look where I am on there. What's going on? What's going on here? There's no answer. I heard no answer to that. Okay, after a lot of searching for what is going wrong, especially with this meter measurement here, I think I found it. So this diagram shows you where the test points are on the board. And test points are B, C, and A. And then there's a leader line from the little box that points to the item. Like you can see, B points here. Now it's hard to see on here. It's hard in the camera, it's hard for me to figure out what exactly is B. I made a big mistake with this A. For a while I thought A was pointing at this area here, like it appears to be, but in fact it actually is joining this line from number 15 and is actually pointing way up here. So once I figured that out, I solved the A problem. Well, guess what? There's a C problem of the same sort. I thought this was pointing right into this area here. So I've set up a test point here, and that's what I've been measuring to. But now I realize the leader line from C just connects to the leader line from number 13 and actually goes all the way up into the middle here. And this is really where the test point is. I just booped it right up because of that. Interestingly enough, A and C are pointing right next to each other on the board. Makes a little bit of sense. So I'm going to rearrange the test point C to be down here. I have this vague notion that I figured this out earlier and then forgot, but I'm not sure. I'm going to put it here, and we're going to repeat that alignment test involving the meter over here, and hopefully escape the craziness that's been going on. Okay, so for this test point, there's actually a terminal sticking out here, so I've just put the clip lead onto the terminal. We should be ready to go this time. The alignment step should work. The meter should behave properly. That's what I'm saying. Let's see what actually happens now. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, put the power on. Doing this test, I'm putting in the 10.7 unmodulated signal into the tube using the magic stick. See the meter over here. Let me check the zero on it again. So the zero is just a little over. In fact, there's actually a zero, a center zero mark here. So I think I'm going to follow that. That would be zero. Doesn't matter, I can zero it anywhere as long as I know where zero is. So I hook up the meter and it goes off just a little bit. Make it a little more sensitive. Okay, my signal generator is running at just a touch low. So I'm going to adjust that. And I'm just going to watch what happens here. So I'm going back and forth and the meter's really not reacting. So set this to 10.7. Okay, meter not reacting. What was that little? I don't know if you heard that or not. Some really weird sound came out of somewhere. Why would that meter not be reacting? Not enough at 10.7. Radio's become very sensitive. Let me pull out the antenna. There. There we go. Okay, so the meter's not on center zero. Doesn't seem to react to the signal generator. Maybe I got the sleeve up way too high here. So I just keep an eye on the meter behind the wires. We'll drop this down a little bit. It's making zero difference on the meter. This is going even worse now. Why would that be? Well, it's another bad situation here. Just when I think I've got it under control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try turning that adjustment, but I can't imagine it's going to work out. Let's give it a go though. Now there's something very wrong here. Yeah, we continue to be in a disastrous situation with this radio. Although all along the way it sounds better and better all the time, despite all this craziness that I'm doing. What is the matter with this guy? Did I not hook up the right? I must have hooked up the right bleed here. Well, I can hit it with more signal strength from the signal generator. See what that does. Well, that moved it. Now I'll tune the signal generator. Okay, we got some action. But shouldn't that fall back when there's no signal? Shouldn't that just fall back to 0? There's no signal now. And if I come across, let's give it more power here. Okay, try again. Shouldn't it be swinging back and forth across the 0 point? Yes, it should be. Or is it so far out of alignment because of other shenanigans? This is not working. This is just not working. Wow. Easy stuff not working out. I thought I had it. So, point C remains a bit of a mystery. So here's the box that says C. You follow this line. So none of these lines cross. None of them cross except for this one and this one. So these terminals are coming out of, or they're inside this box here, inside the IF can. And that's point C. When you look on the schematic, here's the IF can here. There's point C. Point C is well outside of the can. There's a component on the way. Yet, when I look at this diagram, it seems to say point C is right on that terminal, which is right in the can. So how can I be connecting to point C outside the can by connecting to something that's sticking out the bottom of the can area? Point C is on the back of the switch here. It's a little hard to access. Point C is on the top of this capacitor and this resistor. I gotta find these two components and find out where point C really is, because I don't think I've got it. That's why the meter is still not behaving right. That's my plan. Hello. Well, this is one of those deals that's really hard to believe here, so I'm going to run over this on camera, see if I can find out what it is I'm getting wrong. So, in the instructions for alignment, it says, connect two matched 100K resistors in series from point B to the chassis. Well, there's the two resistors, right there. There's the connection to the chassis, right there. And they come over to this location here. So if we look on this diagram, we see B. It clearly is pointing right here. And you can see on the trace kind of a big C-shaped piece here. If you look in the radio, there's the big C-shaped piece. There's my connection, done exactly like it's shown here. Point B. Now if we look at the schematic, Point B is identified on the schematic. Point B is right here in this square box. In case you can't read it, it says B right there. And it's clearly pointing at this line. If you follow this line out, sure enough, these are the two 100K temporary resistors that are put in for testing purposes. There's point D in the joint between them. So if we trace this back, there's the B, we get to the tube, pin number 2 on the tube. Pin number 2 on the tube. If we look in here now, the tube, I'm going to align my, the tube is located there. A little hard to see maybe on camera. The center point of the tube socket is right here. And we can find pin number 1 right there. That's the gap. Wouldn't that be pin number, what, 8 or 9? The last pin. This is pin number 1. This is pin number 2. Pin number 2 is this piece of trace. This is B. Not this. This. So this resistor should be connected here. If we go back and we look at this diagram, look at the schematic, we see pin 2 for the tube. We see another 2 sitting here, 2, which is terminal number 2 inside the metal box of the IF transformers. Did somebody confuse these 2s? And they meant to identify this point, but they ended up identifying this point on this diagram, because this point goes right into here, which is one of the terminals in the IF. One of the terminals inside the IF. Wrong side of this. Totally wrong. So what I'm saying is the instructions are wrong. I don't like that. I always think it's much more likely I'm just wrong here. So I'm a little bit paralyzed. I've gone over this again and again and again, and I come to the same conclusion every time. This resistor should be connected here. Now, if we keep going, we find point C. When is C important? For this part of the alignment. Oh, let's go up here. DC probe to point C and common to point D. Point D is where the two resistors are connected, but if they're hooked to the wrong place, that's not going to work. Point C, adjust for 0 reading, positive, negative, going reading. Well, we don't get that. So where is point C? Okay, so if we look on the diagram, this was a little confusing too. We see a line coming down from the C. I'm saying it's a branch off of this line. And so they're really pointing way down here. This is a terminal. That's this terminal right here, which is the one I just tried using a few minutes ago, and again, we didn't get the result. I thought point C was up here. You can see I've soldered an extension wire on here, but this is all inside the can. This is all inside the can. Point C is outside the can. Can's here. Point C is out here. There's a resistor in the way. You can't be picking off a terminal that's inside the can and have it be this. So point C is wrong. So where is point C supposed to be? Now that's where I'm at right now. Where is point C? How does this happen? How does this happen? Okay, so looking at point C, So we see this capacitor, this is C57, and this resistor R17, and they're showing on the schematic outside the box. They're not showing inside, they're showing outside the box. In this diagram, you can look at C57, and you can trace it, and it comes up right in here. This is inside the box on this diagram. I know it's probably hard to see on the video, but the box covers have been removed from here and here. So we're looking right inside the box at the various coils that are in here. And this is pointing right inside the box. And if we look for R17, which is shown outside the box here, R17 here, and it's pointing right inside the box, just about the same place as R57. They should be, they're connected together. So, although this appears to indicate point C is outside the domain of the box, this suggests it is within the domain of the box. So now if we look at where point C is directed here, it appears to be the terminal I was using. So I think what's happened here is the two resistors are installed in the wrong location, and that's just nullified all the testing I've been doing using those resistors. Meanwhile, point C is okay, even though it's in conflict with the schematic here a little bit. Why these variations? It could just be down to, you know, this is a lot of stuff here to get right, and they just didn't get it all right. I don't know. So I'm going to go with the idea that this is point C. I'll hook up my test lead to it. Well, first I've got to resolder this resistor over to this pad here. So I'm going to do that stuff, and we'll get this guy. We'll try again. We'll just try again. Okay, so I've relocated my pair of resistors. We're going to hook this up to what I believe is point C. And the other test lead is going to go onto the joint between the two resistors. There we are. Okay, we're going to give that a try and see if the meter starts behaving. Okay, ready for another attempt. Set the FM. Okay, and watch the dim lights. That's good. One of the things I noticed in this radio and the other one, which is virtually identical to it, is they both have green corrosion right in this area, and it's up here too. And I discovered from the other radio it's because of the frame and some foam that was used to support the magic eye, which goes right in here. So this is probably an extremely common thing on all these radios, to find this part corroded away here, or turned green anyway, didn't quite corrode away. Nothing you can do about it either, I'm pretty sure. Okay. What do we got happening here? Okay. Let's keep an eye on the meter while I fiddle around, just tuning the radio. No antenna, so we'll stick the antenna in. Okay. Check the center 0 there. It's right on 0. No reading at all. I've got this up pretty high. I'll put it like that. 50 volts. What do we get? Well, I got to go in the other way. There it goes. Fantastic. That's just what I wanted to see. At some point it swung this way. It's way out of balance, right? It's tending to swing over this way. That indicates it's out of adjustment. Wee doggy. Okay. Now I'm going to put in the, we'll take out the antenna. You notice the radio is just getting better all the time while I'm doing this too. We'll feed in the signal here, the signal generator. Okay, let's watch that meter while I do it. tiniest movement there. Let's wedge this. Where's my wedging stick? Get a stand-in wedging stick here. Wedge this up. Whoop. Okay, are we getting anywhere here? So that is dead zero there. And it's swinging. Make it more sensitive here. You can see it swing to the left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to vary that frequency now to 10.7. It's just doing nothing. It's just barely tickling it. It's just sitting off center. Let's give it a little more. So oddly enough, this is going the other way. And it's back to never coming back to center zero. You'd think when there's no station tuned in, it would be off. Let me tune the radio here. No, it's not doing anything. I still have this horrible feeling. We still haven't really nailed it. Okay, well, let me make that adjustment. Just maybe, I spun that adjustment a mile back and forth. Maybe it's just a mile out. Of course, here in Canada it would be a kilometer out. There we go. That's the loudest spot. Oh my gosh, the signal generator is not on 10.7. How'd that happen? It's way off. I must have done that. When did I do that? Oh, I was swinging it back and forth, and I just never swung it back. Okay, I can certainly hear the radio go quiet there. That's about as close as I can get. Let's just knock this down a little bit. Okay, this ought to be it. This ought to do it. The slug can't fall right out the bottom. Well, it's not quite what I was hoping for. Boy, oh boy. Let's put the antenna in and listen to a few stations. Listen to a station here.
Security. Protection for those caribou are now working diligently to start healing that landscape so that it will sustain caribou on its own.
What we hope for is that the caribou will become a self-sustainable species. That they eventually. I don't think we're quite there yet. Once we know that they're breeding in the wild, they're having babies in the wild. Once we get.
How far can you turn one of these things? That's just crazy. Oh my gosh, it's falling right out the back here. See, this look right out. Okay, can't be that far.
My great-grandchildren will have that ability to recover that opportunity.
Chief Roland Wilson is the chief of the West Moberly First Nations. Naomi Owens-Beek is the Treaty Rights and Environment Protection Manager for Saulteaux First Nations. And Dr. Clayton Lamb is a wildlife scientist and Lieber Ero Fellow at the University of British Columbia. The vast expanses of ice that cover much of the giant island. The name
Make sure it's
Greenland
tuned. Maybe I don't have it
seems
tuned quite right.
ironic, but
Tune the
of
radio
course,
here.
parts of it are green. This green area is going back thousands of years. I arrived and settled in the southernmost area. The Norse colonization in the 1400s. Contemporary records don't tell us much about what happened, but many have suggested a cooling climate was the reason. Now, new research by Dr. Boyang Zhao and his colleagues suggests an alternative explanation. It wasn't the cold that drove away the Norse farmers, it was the dry. Too much of Greenland at the time was a parched brown land. Dr. Zhao did his work as part of his PhD studies in the Department of Geosciences at the University of Massachusetts. Hello, welcome to Quirks and Quarks.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for having me.
First of all, just tell me about the Norse farming on Greenland. What did we know about it beforehand?
So basically, they largely driven.
We used to think that the future is where we would have flying cars.
Mon directeur de maîtrise du
Well, I better leave well enough alone at this point. I don't understand why this test is still not performing the way it's supposed to, but the result is, at this point, the radio is working really quite well. So, you know, the whole time I was doing that, I had a 10.7 signal fed into the radio. That can't be helpful. It's not making any difference. Let me turn on the modulation over here. You don't hear it. Seems a little odd to me. Okay, I'm going to vary the 10.7. There it is. Appears to be The quiet spot is at 10, just above 10.7. Good. Not perfect. Okay, I think that's it for today. I think what I'm going to do tomorrow is another round of FM alignment from start to finish. And we'll see if I can really clean it up.